Yo ho ho! Welcome back to the Amazing Survivors podcast with
Tron and
Tremaine.
All right, so this episode we're breaking down episode 3 of The Amazing Race. This one was in Colombia.
Yep.
I don't remember the name of the city that it was.
It's Guadalajara.
Yeah.
I probably butchered that, but it's not too far from
Medellin.
Medellin.
So,
yes, not too far from there.
So we start out, we get there, and they have to climb up this. How many? Like
60. It's 60 flights or so of stairs, and they're going in 3 different groups, 15-minute intervals.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty daunting. I would imagine that some of the teams are feeling worse about that than others as they see the mountain and all the stairs that they have to go up. So
yeah.
And you know what? Here's the deal. I was just in Taiwan, and I went to this Buddhist temple that was on the mountain, and it was, I think, 400 steps.
Oh, man.
And just with like the humidity, like it's tough, man. It is tough.
Well,
like
you can see
I'm also
struggling.
not a endurance person, but like, man, it's a challenge.
Oh, yeah, with that heat, humidity, and just straight up, and it's unforgiving. Like those stairs look pretty intense.
Brutal, yeah.
But let's be honest, Mama Angie made it. You could make it.
Yep.
It looked like Cesar and Ricky did really well.
Yeah.
I can understand why Rod and Letitia and Derek and Shalisa fell behind. They're a little bit older.
Right.
Plus, the gals were a little bit slower, which that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ricky and Cesar, man, they're out to win.
They are.
I love it.
They're just taking no prisoners.
Forgive me for my first prediction on you guys. I think I'm a little wrong because Anthony and Bailey are not that good.
No.
But so they whipped through it. I wanted to know exactly. Okay, 15 minutes. Can you get up those stairs in 15 minutes before the other group starts coming up?
Right.
I couldn't really tell if you could or not.
I couldn't tell either. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to say.
Yeah. I will say once they were up there, as members of the Amazing Race have said, kind of like look around, see what's going on.
Yeah, 100%.
You could see the water taxis.
Yeah.
From up there.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you know exactly which direction you have to go.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you get down, you know, okay, let's head this way.
Yeah.
Like map it out a bit as you're going.
And so it looked like, for the most part, nobody really got lapped from one group behind the group ahead of them. And so, and that's even Mama Angie making it up the stairs, which is impressive.
It is.
But Double Dutch and the twins, they get lost trying to find the marina.
Yeah.
And if you look at the map, this whole mountain's almost surrounded by water.
Yeah. And it's not like a big city. It's not like a big place.
So
it's like, it's so tiny. They're just not paying attention. They're just not good with details. I don't think.
And fair enough. Yeah, you're tired from walking all those stairs. But I feel like take 5 minutes if you have to, because that's going to pay dividends later on.
Yeah. And
they get lost trying to find the boats, which is crazy.
For sure.
Now on the map, looking at it, so if you go by road from that mountain to the detour, it's about a 10-15 minute drive.
Right.
By boat, holy smokes, they had to go all the way around.
So basically, it's kind of like a peninsula type thing. So the mountain's here, the boats are over here, and then the detour's over here. And the boat has to go all the way around that and show up there.
Yeah. And I wonder if they designed it like that, one, for production, to get cameras in place from one spot to the next. Also, give these guys a little bit of a break because your legs are going to be spent. Spent.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it looked like most everybody chose to do cooking. Sunny and Busy, they chose to do the wheelies.
Yeah, so before that, just the water taxi ride. Let's talk about that. Like, this is like one of the things that would be so frustrating in the race because you don't know who's fast. We saw on this episode, I think I can't remember. There were 2 teams, and one taxi just kind of like took off.
Yeah, it was Derek and Shalisa.
Yeah.
Starting to smoke Rod and Letitia.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, darn. Like, can you go faster? You know, it's just who you get. But then Angie and Danny, their taxi just gives out.
And it looks like it gave out within like 30 seconds
super
of
close to
leaving
the
dock.
Yeah. And they're just sitting there.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well,
sucks.
what are we supposed to do?
And so Sonny and Busy passed them.
Yeah.
It looked like Yvonne and Melissa passed them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things, you don't really have a ton of control over that. And you just pray you can make up for it in the detour or the roadblock.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would be really hard.
So then we get there.
Yep.
And they're
Once
choosing.
again, this town is small.
So tiny. So they're choosing between 2 things: cooking a traditional Colombian dish, and they have to cook 3 of them and then present it to these abuelas that judge it.
Yeah.
That's one. The other one is stacking these trucks that they use just full of a bunch of junk.
Yeah.
Which one would you have done?
Personally, this is the hard part because I feel like cooking, okay, there's going to be a set amount of time that you have to do it in to keep pace. Can I do all of that stacking within that time?
Right.
Even though you don't know exactly what you're cooking. So my first initial would be like, hey, we're going to stack this. Looking at what happened, holy smokes. Fair enough. Anthony and Bailey, you weren't in your right mindset. I still feel like I could have stacked it faster than cooking.
Really?
Because they had a bucket load of rope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know I could tie each individual thing together to the frame so it didn't fall off and would stay. And so I feel like I could have still stacked it faster and tied it up faster than cooking.
Okay.
That being said, I feel like I still could have cooked fairly quickly.
Yeah. I have a lot more confidence in my cooking abilities. I cook quite a bit and I really enjoy it. And looking at that, some teams were a little confused by the ingredients. I knew what every ingredient was. So I personally, if I was there and like looking between the 2, I would have chosen cooking. So if we were on the same team, this would be a bit of a...
I don't think it would, because I go, okay, you know everything. Because I feel like I can cook.
Yeah.
I have no problem.
Okay.
Fried eggs, no problem. Plantains, okay.
Yeah, it's real simple.
I would have followed your lead on that.
Okay.
Gone, okay, you want to cook? You feel confident?
Let's crush it.
We will do that. Because, yes, you got 4 burners. You man these 2, I'll do these 2. I can heat up the beans. I can cook rice.
Which you kind of saw, like some of the teams didn't really...
Like Derek and Shalisa? Oh my gosh, that was frustrating to watch. And they still finished 3rd.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, right?
So, no, I would have definitely followed your lead on that. Because I'm like, cool, you want to cook? We can cook this out. Yeah. Because I feel comfortable in the kitchen. I also feel very comfortable in my physical abilities. But if you cooked, I'm like, cool, we're going to knock this out.
Yeah. So pretty much every team chose cooking, right? Except for Anthony and Bailey.
Well, they, along with Double Dutch, went first to the Willies. Then they went cooking. Double Dutch stayed cooking. Anthony went back.
Which just murders your game.
You cannot do that.
You can't be that indecisive. And they didn't even really start any of them. Like, they went to the Willies and they're like, nope. And then they went to cooking and they're like, nope. And then they went back. And I was like, you guys at least try one of these.
Well, not only that, but you're with Double Dutch.
Yeah.
At least ask him a question. There's nothing wrong. You saw Kishori and Karishma ask, hey, we don't eat meat. What is this?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's a pork. No big deal.
Yeah.
So work with these other teams. Like,
yeah, 100%.
It looks like they're more than happy to help each other and get through things. Yeah. So you cannot bounce back between 2 detours twice.
No.
And even pray to win.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I did find it hilarious as they're cooking. It just started raining.
Yeah.
Just raining on them. Which I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And then we saw most of the teams, a lot of the teams, that did the cooking passed on their first try.
Yep.
A lot of the teams, if they didn't,
Yeah,
it was just
Kishore,
like,
Karishma,
just cook your plantains a little more or whatever.
Presentation.
Just, arrange this better.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have been that hard to like get a pass off on it. Like we saw Ricky and Cesar, they crushed it. Yeah. Submitted it. Perfect. Off you go. Like they just rocked this leg, to be honest.
Oh, they did so good. Yeah. And so after they do the detour, they go to these, I call them tuk-tuks, taxi, whatever. Yeah. They probably weren't very far from those because that town is not small. They just go on the main boulevard. Yeah. To get from that town to the actual Loma or Casa Loma, where the coffee beans are, that's about a 20 to 25 minute taxi ride. Yeah. According to the map. And so that's really nice because I feel like you had these long voyages or travel, so you can really read the rules of the clue.
Yeah, and really
to go,
familiarize yourself
what do we really want to do? What are we going to do? How are we going to get through this? And it was surprising once they got there, it kind of looked like they gave you everything you needed to do. Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot to it.
No. And just backing up a little bit, I really liked, I don't know if you picked up on this, but when Ricky and Cesar got to the tuk-tuks, they had their choice of any, and they're like, hold on, before we commit to one, let's ask him. And he's like, do you know where this is? And the guy was like, yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm like, that's great, because I've seen in the past some people get in one of them, and they're like, hey, take me here, and they're like, I don't know where that is.
What are you talking about?
And so I thought it was pretty smart to be like, hey, we got a lead, we got some time, like let's make sure that our driver knows exactly where we're going.
I do feel though in this small town,
everyone's
most likely
for sure
going to be able to find it. And if not, they can ask somebody along the street, hey, where is this? Oh yeah, it's over there. Yeah. So that is a good point. Yeah. Because you really got to ask people and ask questions like, where is this? What are we doing?
And everything just kind of seemed to benefit them being ahead. So they get to this coffee place. So what it is, it's all these coffee plants. It's on a pretty steep slope. What they have to do is they have to pick a bunch of coffee beans, go grind them, and then they have to get a kilo worth of the ground, well, not the ground beans, but the dehusked beans. And so it was advantage to them being ahead because then they could just go for the low plants. So they didn't have to go like way up high. And it hadn't really started raining there yet for them, which when the rain comes and you're on this steep, muddy slope, like it's going to be a lot harder. So
it's going to be a pain.
They had some advantages by being ahead and just kind of crushing it.
Yeah. And then because of that, also being the first one there, you can get the lower plants and just rock it through it, which is really nice. Yeah. It reminds me of 35 when they had those lilies that they had to go get. Yeah. 100%. You might get sniped by some carpfish. Oh my gosh.
So honestly, I would have been so comfortable with this challenge. When I was in Cuba a few years back, we went to like a coffee plantation and we saw from like start to finish them making coffee. And so like I saw, and honestly it's not hard because they're just drilling it, but they were smart. They're like, okay, we need a kilo of the dehusked beans. So that means I need like 1.5 to 2 kilos of raw beans. Yeah. And so I was like,
so he played it well.
Yeah, he played it very well. So they
was anyone there by the time they got done?
I don't think
it didn't seem like
I don't think so.
Because God, they were just so far ahead. Yeah. But then, you got Derek and Shalisa, Rob and Letitia, Juan and Shane, Amber and Vinny show up. Yeah. I think they were in 6th when they left the cooking. Right. And pretty much everyone's congregated except for the last 2 to 3 teams doing this. But man, Vinny just
crushed
ripped it. But he played it smart. He's like, I'm going to put this right here. Use both
hands, get all these beans.
And he just ripped through it. Yeah. Yeah. Which is really impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. And then it seemed like
they had to go back up to the top.
Yeah, so they had to go way down to do this. They had to go way back up there. But it seemed like everyone else was super close because they get to the mat and there's like team after team coming in.
Yeah, basically 2nd all the way through 8th. Yeah. We're all there. Yeah. And within minutes or even seconds for some of them.
Yeah.
But it looked like, so where they first got that clue, the roadblock was up on the side of the house. It looked like Phil was on the backside. Down the slope a little bit, which, fair enough. You had to search it out a little bit. And so once, it was funny, like they had the audio like, Phil, where are you?
Yeah.
And Phil's like, huh?
Yeah.
And then the mad rush to get there.
Yeah. But kudos to Amber and Vinny. They crushed that.
You got right through it. And it's exciting to see them be where probably a lot of us thought they were going to be.
For sure. And then obviously you had those other top teams kind of right in there. Rod, Letitia, Juan and Shane, and
Derek,
all of them,
Lisa.
Just all at the top. And so really you had like that, but then like the excitement was at the bottom of the pack there.
Yeah.
So you had Angie and Danny, who actually showed up to that while quite a few people were still there.
Yeah, still there.
Which was kind of shocking, but they were just very slow at that. So you had them, and then you had Double Dutch that were kind of struggling a bit.
Yeah, Sean was deathly afraid of heights, struggling to get down the mountain.
Which was so weird to me because the mountain, like it had steps. It looked like a pretty good path, and he was just sat down and was like, no, I'm not doing it. And I was like, it doesn't even look like that steep. It doesn't look that like scary. I was like, they didn't show him on the stairs like struggling on like the very first going up like
on those. He was almost doing it like a dog.
Yeah.
Going up like that, and he seemed to be okay doing it that way.
Yeah.
And so, to me, it's almost like, well, if it was me, like, would closing my eyes help, or close my eyes and his wife.
Yeah, like
for the moment, I cannot remember her name. I want to say it's Michelle, but I don't think that's it. But have her come back and go just hand by hand, get him down. But he manned up. He got down the hill.
Yeah, ended up doing it, getting down the hill, and then she went on the hill to get all the beans.
And she was just sitting there, just put little by little.
I loved it at the end. She just kind of like lays down, just like, like slides down.
Slide. Oh yeah. So. And then you got Anthony and Bailey, kind of knowing, hey, we're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can catch up. I mean, they do catch him at the coffee place, but
to be fair, they did have like good attitude and everything, which was good. But yeah, they were just so far back. I think, like you said, they knew switching so much. Like you know where you're at. And so
you're hosed.
Yeah.
And so, but
they did show up while other teams were still picking coffee beans.
Like they saw Danny and Angie at the top of the hill, and then so they caught up to Double Dutch, but it's still a little bit too little, too late.
Too little, too late.
And it comes back to, if you're one of the last teams, you got to go higher up the hill to find the beans, and getting up that hill with the rain would be rough.
Super rough. So they come in last and they're eliminated. Yeah. So,
but
which.
Oh well.
Yeah.
I had them second, and I was kind of off.
They're just, like mentally, I don't think they're quite there.
Yeah.
So.
But they said they had a great time, and it looked like a great time.
Yeah.
So
then it teases the next episode. They go to Medellin, and it shows them in, I don't know, what is that, like paragliding or whatever? Mm-hmm. So it's unclear if both people have to do it, but I think it's just probably one on each team.
I think it is too. It's kind of like in 35 the glider over the lake.
Yeah.
I think it's just one person. They're probably gonna have to look for some clue from up there.
Which is great news for Double Dutch. So he doesn't have to jump up there.
And it's probably a good thing that Danny's doing that, because I'm not sure if Angie could see far enough to get the clue. It also teases some people get lost.
Yeah.
Looks like Amber and Vinny have a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, she kind of is losing her mind. He's kind of being snippy with her.
Yeah, and so I don't think they're going to lose because
yeah.
I feel like most teasers they don't show the team that's going to get
because
eliminated.
Also
usually.
they said based on where you finish depends like what
When you
group
start.
you're with when you're leaving, and so there's an advantage being in those first groups or first group.
So it's probably going to be similar to how they started this leg, 15-minute intervals, whether they're taking a bus to Medellin.
Or, hard to say.
Yeah.
But
or if they're just going to go there and just start the race. Here you go.
Right. So I think still in the last group in the bottom, we have Double Dutch, we have Mom and Son. And I think it's going to be one of those two going home.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna say Double Dutch goes home.
Double Dutch. Okay. I'll go Danny and Angie.
Okay.
Just because it's one of those two teams.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Like if it's another team, wow.
Yeah.
They just must have had a really bad leg and got crushed.
Like Anthony and Bailey, right? Like,
yeah.
Something could happen, but I'm going with them. I'm still on the Ricky Cesar train. I think they're going to win again.
Oh, man. As long as they keep going to these countries that are Spanish speaking, and Cesar is just killing it with that. I think he has the language, but also just the interpersonal skills to get information from people. Yeah. Yeah.
Is one of them from, I think on this last episode it was Juan from that town?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he got to come back to his roots.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
That is cool. That's way cool.
So I do still think Juan and Shane can get up there because Juan can speak fluently.
And I think there's a few teams where people can speak fluently. And so I don't know, but whatever Ricky and Cesar are doing, it's great.
Yeah,
Keep it up.
Killing it.
Keep it up.
Just killing it.
You'll be good.
Yeah. Okay. If you take them for the win, I'll take Juan and Shane for the win.
Yeah. They need to step it up in one of these and start.
Yeah, like they've been consistently fourth, but I think on this one they can bump up another couple levels and get the dub.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Who do you guys think is going to win? Who do you think is going to go home? Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you think Amber and Vinny just blow up at each other and kind of lose the race right here?
Lose the race and lose their relationship?
Let's hope not.
No, I don't think they are. I know some people have scouted them out. They seem to be doing just fine.
Okay, good.
Yes. Good. But that is the Amazing Survivors podcast, recapping episode 3 of The Amazing Race, season 36.
Yeah.
I'm Tremaine.
I'm Tron. Stay tuned. The next one will be next week.
Yep.
We'll recap Survivor and The Amazing Race.
Yes. And the challenge, when does that start? The 16th of April?
I'm not sure.
It's either the 1st or the 16th. We might start recapping now. I've never seen it. Tron's a huge
one of my favorites.
Huge.
Hands down. So
we'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah.
But until then, yo ho ho.
Ho ho ho.